start? Yeah?
Should I just go? Anybody else for this talk?
I will start. As you can see, I'm Martin. Some of you know me, some of you don't. But like, I will tell you kind of a personal story of mine. Like the thing how I ended up to be here, like in front of you, speaking about astronomy. Although in my life I have taken another educational path, but anyway, astronomy had become one of my best hobbies. Sometimes even more than that, and that's. I have asked a couple of times in, let's say, the last 4 or 5 years, because like, although I was studying something else, again, astronomy prevailed in my life. So I started to say like, come on, is there something else that I can say that this thing is a hobby for me? Because I was not doing it professionally to get some money out of it, or I don't know, but like just to see how it was going for me, or it became something else. Like, in this topic is an obsession, but you can say it whatever else. So, yeah, you see, like, there is a path in your life that everybody starts when you are kind of hoping and to search for the unknown. And of course, even when you're small, you sometimes came up in the night sky or went somewhere out of the city where you can see the sky much better, and you get fascinated by the stars. So probably more or less every one of us has started this road somewhere there. So I tried to look, and like now to start with the definitions about all of these 3 topics. So astronomy, hobby or obsession, but by what you can find around. So astronomy, some general definition, research of the universe that and objects that are there, like the moon, the stars. This is like a common normal definitions, although you can adjust it the way you want to do it. But then what is a hobby? There are like 2 definitions that I put it, like an activity outside of your everyday job that one person is doing primarily for relaxation. Or the other one, activity that you are making for pleasure and fun when you are not working. So, when we stick them all together, it's scientific research of the universe for relaxation and fun. Perfect definition. I think everybody of us would like to do this, to research the universe, but on the other side, to have fun while you're doing all of these things. And of course, not to have all the stresses that go along when you're doing something in the professional level. But then what is obsession? From one side, big motivation. Astronomy is a motivation for all of us, of course. Then the second one, permanent, upsetting preoccupation, where sometimes a person gets unreal ideas and feelings. And the third one, that is probably more distressing, somebody or something for which you think about constantly. That gives you a thought like, come on, what do I think about constantly? But of course, you think about astronomy. That's why we are all here. If we didn't think about astronomy more or less every day in our lives, we wouldn't have been here doing this SpaceUp conference, travel more or less around the world to join these events. So, in a way, we think about astronomy constantly. So, as the famous saying, Houston, we have a problem. But do we have a problem or not? Like, about doing these tasks. So, let's go again back in history. How do we do it? As I said in the beginning, you get outside in one point of your life, more or less as a child, because I think all these imaginations for some sort of things that we do in life start in a certain level in your childhood. Of course, maybe then in some part you won't take this education, but again, this prevails if, of course, you fell in love in something in your life. So, how I started, like, quite often we went on some trips, probably with my parents, or let's say on summer vacation. I think my main astronomy love, or the love for the sky and the stars came when I was going like on summer vacation with my friends. There by one lake in Macedonia, like there is a good, clear, nice sky, and most of the time during the nights you stay, talk, have some chat, and of course lay down somewhere in the sand by the lake and you watch the stars. Sometimes for 5 minutes, sometimes for 2 hours. But of course, and at this point, when you don't know the constellation, you don't know anything what is happening there, you start to have your own constellation. Like here is some, I don't know, head or a face, or a duck or swan, whatever it looks like, or I don't know, a pen, or I don't know, whatever you can think about it, a heart, or usually it happens to have some motifs that happen in your life then, so probably then will be your first love or whatever, so you try to find a heart-shaped object or the constellation to be like that, or a flower, or I don't know what. But afterwards you say, come on, let me try to learn the exact constellation, like the Big Dipper, the Orion, or whatever. So you start to browse through the internet, or I don't know, some magazines. I don't know, in that time there was not so much even internet, when, at least for myself, when I was looking for this. So you look up at constellations like the Delphinus or Orion, probably one of the most famous constellation, or Leo, or whatever. So then you get a map of your own map of the sky. So then kind of the fascination and the imagination, at least for the constellation and what is up there, kind of loosens up, because whenever you look at the sky, you get a particular thing that is out there. So the constellation, you don't see the bands of the hearts or whatever there was before when you didn't know the constellation. But anyway, this opens another topic that you can go on forward. Of course, more to get into astronomy. So you start to look for different things, or how can I continue to follow my passion that I have for this. So it ended up that I found an astronomy club that was actually in my city. There were some other astronomy geeks there that wanted to do and had the passion for observation. So you start to go with them. First of all, you have probably some small equipment with you. Of course, binoculars, or I don't know, that everybody has, because in certain points you don't have a telescope that you can immediately start with a telescope to go. But of course you do with the binoculars, then let's say comes the telescope. So this is a point, like a breakthrough point. When you first look through a telescope, my first object through a telescope was Mars, looking at Mars during the occultation in 2003. So Mars was closest to Earth at that time. So I said, okay, this is something nice. I really want to do it. Then you go out to observe. First, probably you see the planets. So with Jupiter, probably you see the 4 Galilean moons. Then you see Saturn, and when you see Saturn, okay, there is no way back, for sure. Because if you like observation, there is no way back. I can tell you this. So, and then, of course, you go out there and then you say, but yeah, something is missing, of course. Oh. There. So you make different kind of things, trying to enjoy what you're doing there, observing. So of course, this kind of, I miss Pluto, just made it up in 2006 when, you know, they dismissed from the planetary group of and then,
but you know it's still there, right?
yes, of course, but I miss it from the planets.
Okay.
Oh, of course it's still there. But what comes with the observations, especially if you're really into it, if you're trying to do observations all the night, you go in really different kinds of weather conditions. Because in Macedonia we don't have any observatory that has a solid ground where you can go inside. So every time you have to go in a certain place. Mostly all the time it's a mountainous place, so usually we go above 1,000 meters, so it's quite elevated place. When the temperatures are quite low, you stay more or less all night long, and in winter you see the ice, you can even write on the telescope, so you can imagine like the degrees and the temperature. The lowest temperature that at least we measured, and exactly I know, was like for observation of the meteor shower quadrantids. That is the maximum of the night between 3rd and 4th of January. It was minus 21 degrees, so Celsius. So you can imagine staying there like for 2 hours and observing a meteor shower on this type of weather. And of course, you always find some activities to get along and to stay warm. So playing football or just to jump up and push the blood in your bloodstream. So, attention, attention. Again, as I said, if you look through this telescope, your life may change forever. This is probably one of the things, you know, when you buy certain optical equipment, usually you have this warning that it says, don't look directly to the sun through this. So, for some amateur astronomers, should be this kind of stuff, like it can change your life if you look through it. And what you go after, because probably you look the planets, you find some things. So the next step is looking for messier objects. So this is the 110 galaxies, globular clusters, whatever that are sky, that Charles Messier put it in one catalog like 300 years ago, and you start to observe them. And after a long time of observation, you do, okay, yeah, I've seen them, and the most challenging part, of course, is the Virgo cluster. This is a cluster of galaxies that are in really one point, like in space, so you can imagine this is the Virgo cluster. Here, for sure, there is at least, I don't know, like 70 or 80 galaxies that you can see with a normal size telescope. So you can imagine, just point your telescope in this place and for sure you will find something. Even with a small, I don't know, 10 centimeter telescope, for sure you will see. If you have something bigger, then the number goes up and up and up. So if you pass this and you see, okay, I have passed the Virgo cluster, then you say, yeah, but I want something more. Then you continue to the NGC object. It's a catalog with more than 6,000 to 7,000 objects that are there on the sky. And of course, this is all that you can get, at least for the observational part, that you can take with the telescope. Because of course, to go even further in space, you need some different technique, much more bigger telescope. And to continue with your passion, you go to some kind of meetings where, again, astronomy or let's say amateur geeks go there and you try to see how well you have done with looking with the Messier objects. Probably you have heard about these Messier marathons that are more or less every March all around the world. So you try to compete and to see how good you are. Of course, when you get even the first prize in this competition, yeah, again, you need more passion. So what do you need? A bigger telescope, of course. Look more further, and even bigger, and even bigger. So where you end up, like you need, and suddenly probably you want to go to Keck or I don't know, somewhere on Paranal to look at this 10-meter giant telescope and to observe with them. But of course, these are for the professionals, so you have to stick to some ground in a certain level, and at least until you are an amateur. So, what comes next? Astrophotography. This is a level to step up and to see something more. And of course, when you look through a telescope, the objects, except of the planets, don't have color. Everything you see more or less in gray, black and white color. So, all of the object galaxies, globular clusters or nebulas don't have color. You see something gray. So, how to get color into them? The thing is astrophotography. So you start in a certain place, in certain type. Again, you see it's plain of the art, simple technology. Of course, you don't see all the fancy telescopes. So you have some cameras, some are mounted on them. And the thing is that at a certain point, you start it and you don't have a precise mount that tracks the sky. So you have to stay all night long looking through your eyepiece and track the object. You find some bright star, looking to this, you have a crosshair, you point the star in the middle of the crosshair or somewhere else, and you track it. 2-3 hours to get a good astrophoto. You need 2 or 3 hours to stick your star in one certain place for you looking through this, on -10 degrees. So you can imagine the passion, and then you will think, come on, this is not a hobby. I'm doing something that is kind of weird, because for every day, if you say to somebody, I'll go to -10 degrees, sitting on a chair or something even crunch, looking in a crosshair that has 1 point of light into it. So somebody will say that you're nuts, of course. So what comes next? Of course, again, you try more and more telescope, more and more equipment. But what you tend to have? Of course this. But again, it's not impossible, at least as an amateur. So always you look through Hubble photos, and of course your astrophotography tend to get a certain level that your photo kind of resembles what you can see either from Hubble or some of the bigger telescopes that are out there. And then, okay, you say, I won't do just this, let's say, obsession only for me. Let's try to get some more people to stack and to do this night observation with me together, because, of course, misery wants company, so you want to have some followers with you. So you organize different kind of lectures where other people follow what you have to say about astronomy or a certain topic that's connected, about physics or whatever. So every time when you put some really fancy topic like black holes or I don't know, the probability of asteroid impact or whatever, a lot of people come. But anytime when you put something really that is more scientific, or you want to explain, I don't know, how stars are born? Yes, how stars are born, sorry. Not a lot of people come. And of course, sorry?
We will come.
Sorry?
We will come. We will come. I'm saying that we
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, I hope so. And then, of course, you did astrophotography, so you want to present your photos to the public. Again, start to push the limits. You go to certain conferences that are organized around the world to see what is there. And of course, everybody wants to meet some famous people, even Nobel Prize winners and things like that. So, what are the signs, when you look through all of this, what are the signs of an obsession that you have in this hobby? First of all, you go observation alone. So yeah, not everybody is brave enough to step outside and go in the middle of the wilderness, in the middle of the night, and to do this thing. Then, finding different kinds of excuses to go to observe. Probably everybody has certain family, I don't know at whatever point, so either you have a girlfriend or a wife or blah blah blah. So every time you say, I don't know, some kind of lame excuse, they say, yeah, I want to go observe, so they have to cope with it. Either they do or I don't know what else. And then you forget about your health and you stay all night long without sleeping. So you see this kind of with the sleeping bags, or observing, or yes, of course, if you want to go to observations, you need to stay all night long. Probably during the day you have some other activity, then during the nights you go observation, so probably you sleep 2 or 3 hours per day. Especially during the weekends, it can happen that the whole weekend almost you didn't have enough sleep. Then, daily dose of astronomy that you need to function normally. Yes, of course, everybody of us, at least nowadays, Twitter or whatever, yeah, we do, like, I have to read something, to see some photo or whatever. Basically, that's it. And then, the inability to stop astronomical activities, every time it gets and gets more and more. Then, you're deeply hurt when somebody compares you to astrology, and when they say, come on, please, tell me about my telescope. You know, you for sure observe, and then you say, yes, of course, I can explain about how Leo or how the moon reflects you or whatever. But usually I say, I affect more to you than the moon probably is at this moment because of my gravity towards you. So that's the normal explanation that they usually get, and you are not functioning the next day, of course, after 2 hours of sleep or whatever. Sometimes it happened to me. I was going to observation, came home at 6 in the morning, and then from 8 I was going to lecture to the university. So you can imagine my effectiveness on the lectures. And then, of course, as I said, you always tend to go to different kinds of events or get involved in different kinds of organizations. This MAD, or Macedonian Astronomical Society, but abbreviation is in Macedonian just to have this MAD word. So you get the point what you have to be an amateur astronomer. Then it's Petrogora Star Party. When you start to go long trips, like I came here today to do these lectures, to be involved and to get in people like you with this kind of group. Then it's Ledenka, and Astronomy Camp in Serbia, where a lot of amateur astronomers come basically from Balkan, but when you start to go there, you're already in trouble, and of course, there is no way back. International Astronomy Youth Camp, you're stuck in too deep. Then it comes the Year of Astronomy, where you want to spread with the whole world. And of course, it was a basically global event. Then more or less every even professional and amateur was involved too. And the space Twitter. This is why we came up here. So once a trip, always a trip. We started at one point, and basically more or less everybody of us here went to some Twitter event and came up here. So again, you ask yourself, it's too much. So where to look for help? Because you see, you want to have your telescope and try to be as much as possible with your telescope and do these activities. So what can I say for you? The basic things that probably you will get out of this presentation that I made, to see how much you are involved in astronomy and what it represents to you. But the most important thing is to do the things that you want from your heart. Whatever they are more or less as much as you want to do. Because then it really brings out the pleasure and really brings the best of you in your life. And the most sentence, get to know the world around you. That will make you happier, richer, and fulfilled inside. So, if you like astronomy, take as much part as you can in it. And hope you will enjoy it. Thank you. So, I don't know if you have time, if you have some questions. Okay, it's not a question-related topic, but anyway.
Starting an astronomy class somewhere next month. Maybe you can tell what one might expect from something like that.
What to expect? I don't know. Like really, it's depending on the public, and of course, it depends a lot of the marketing. We know today, and as much as possible to reach out to people. But again, it's really hard because you're doing something that you can do it as a hobby, and of course there is a lot of interesting things, but not everybody is willing to go outside, as I mentioned, on -10 and to sit, I don't know, 2-3 hours in the middle of the night somewhere. So it's really hard to get the people, like really the right people that have the right or the big passion for astronomy. And of course, it happened some years ago that like really for 2 or 3 years, more or less we didn't have any new member in our club coming. Yeah, people are going to these lectures, yeah, what you do, blah, 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 and then, okay, they went away. Of course, I cannot say the exact expectation, but you need to put more content to people and to be as open as possible. And of course, to spread your knowledge to them. Because I have noticed when some person comes and you say, okay, I want to know how to take photo of the moon. So as fast as possible, you will try to provide this for him or her, whoever it is. Like, you get a telescope, you get a camera, okay, let's go to take photos. First you will show, and then even if you can, give the equipment to them, okay, use it for 1 week, and then show me what you have done. Really, this is the easiest way. Of course, every time when you do something practical and somebody do it on its own, is the easiest way to get to people. I don't know. It's really basically to be as much provider to content and to a certain practical skills, and at the beginning not to be involved too much in some kind of scientific, let's say, or more advanced topics, because you know everybody that comes in the beginning, yeah, probably saw the Milky Way somewhere outside in the dark sky and maybe just knows the planets, even not in order as they are on the sky. So it's this. You need to take it slow, but of course to be as open as possible